When it was first released, the Visceral developed Battlefield Hardline received a lot of harsh criticism. Most of it was aimed towards the setting, the lack of tanks, and that the gameplay wouldn't differentiate itself enough from Battlefield 4, which was released just a little over 16 months earlier and would still receive an additional 3 DLCs after Hardline's release, 4 if you count the Weapons Crate DLC as well. Now, 5 years and 2 Battlefield games later, the player base is torn once again over the latest installment in the long-running franchise. But this time it's not because of the setting or similarities to previous games, it's the overall state of the game, technical and content-wise, that has a lot of players shake their heads in disbelief. Which has the interesting side effect that a lot of those players are now actually going back to rediscover previous installments of the series, including the often overlooked black sheep of the family, Battlefield Hardline, giving it some ill-needed recognition of not only being a legit entry in the Battlefield series on its own, but more and more players also seem to realize that, hey, this game's actually a lot of fun. And much more polished than the current installment, which over a year and a half after release still struggles with lack of content, lack of polish and, let's face it, lack of love from the player base. Recent developments like the back and forth TTK changes, server shutdowns for whole regions, the so far pretty lackluster Chapter 6 with its constant tier skip tokens, or giving all the other Battlefield games some kind of double XP event but not Battlefield 5 because the tech isn't there, didn't really help to please fans either. And in light of this, Battlefield Hardline suddenly doesn't look that bad anymore. So welcome to my little channel, and here are 10 things in no particular order that I think 2015's Battlefield Hardline actually did better than Battlefield 5. Battlefield Hardline was the first Battlefield game to introduce different types of melee weapons. Sure, Battlefield 4 already had different kinds of knives and blades, but they all handled exactly the same way as the standard issue one. With Hardline we got a total of 3 different melee weapon types. Sharp weapons like knives, daggers and other blades. Blunt weapons such as baseball bats, nightsticks, shovels or crowbars. And two-handed weapons like breaching hammers, fire axes and even medieval broadswords. And they all filled their own unique roles. Knives and daggers are quick and deadly and can initiate an instant takedown. But slashes from the front won't kill the enemy straight away. Blunt weapons can initiate non-lethal takedowns from behind, after which you can interrogate the target, revealing their teammate's location. And finally, two-handed weapons are slow and a bit clumsy, but will kill an enemy in one hit from any angle, even with a ballistic shield on the back. In Battlefield 5, on the other hand, all the melee weapons feel pretty much the same. They don't seem to fill certain specific roles anymore. And if there are significant differences between a shovel and a fire axe, they must be very subtle, because I honestly can't tell the difference. Speaking of the fire axe, they didn't even bother to keep it two-handed. Instead they made a somewhat smaller 3D model to fit it in one hand and gave it the exact same animations as the shovel, hatchet and so on. In Battlefield 1 at least some melee weapons still had special abilities, like being able to tear down barbed wire or damage light vehicles. I think the hatchet in BF5 can break boarded up windows, but that must be it. Rumor has it non-lethal takedowns and interrogations were meant to make a comeback in BF5 in form of the garrote. But that was before the whole archetype system was removed in favor of the combat roles, and we haven't seen or heard anything about it ever since. We didn't see new combat roles either. Here's hoping that some more variety in the melee department will find its way into the game at some point in the future. In Battlefield Hardline, when you spot an enemy player, your character doesn't just utter a generic "enemy spotted" voice line every time. Instead, depending on the spotted individual's location, that location or nearby landmark is mentioned as well to give it some more context. There's a sniper by the loading docks, suspect at the stores, RPG by the cartel mansion. At first it might not seem like much, but with time you'll know where on the map the stores are, where the cartel mansion is, and so on. So even without looking at the map, those hints can tell you approximately where on the map the danger is coming from. Other players around you hear those as well, which not only adds to the atmosphere, but can really be more helpful than a simple enemy spotted, which is what we went back to in Battlefield 5. When you spot a tank or ping a location, you'll always hear the same handful of generic voice samples.
Enemy! Right there!
Danger over there! It's a tank! Land creeper!
That's a land creeper!
Sometimes the pinged location or spotted vehicle is too far away to be visible on your minimap, so you don't even have that as a reference.
Shit! Tank coming!
Instead, wouldn't it be nice if Battlefield 5 built upon a similar system? I saw something behind the church! Danger by the barracks! Enemy tank by the water tower! Danger! Second floor window! When you ping a location, there already is a name for that location if you look closely, including info like east of, west of, etc. It almost seems like a similar approach as Hardlines might have been in development but was sadly never fully fleshed out. And if the necessary voice recordings haven't been made already, it's hard to tell if it's even possible to update BF5's pinging system in any meaningful way. It sure could take some notes from Hardline though. In Battlefield 5, the player characters do comment on and react to other players around them, which is pretty neat, like greeting a respawned soldier or commenting on someone's double kill. In Hardline though, they also comment on what's happening to the environment around them. For example, when a bridge is destroyed, a house collapses or similar things happen during combat, you can hear corresponding voice lines like "Oh shit, the crane's coming down" or "They took out the bridge" and so on. Now imagine how cool this would be in Battlefield 5. You're in a house with your squad when suddenly the enemy starts laying down fire. One of your squad mates gets hit and you hear another one shout, "Get down, they're shooting through the walls!" Or a bomb from a plane rips off the roof and your soldier shouts, "Damn, the roof is gone!" Or a tank approaches, crashing through the walls and you hear someone shout, "Out, out, the house is coming down!" Wouldn't that be awesome? It's little things like that which really add to the atmosphere. Instead, in Battlefield 5 you hardly hear a grunt in these cases, and even those grunts are mere reactions to the damage you take, not the actual event. But similar to the contextual shoutouts, if the necessary voice recordings haven't been made already, it's unlikely we'll hear additional ones in the future. Loading screens are a boring necessity and we can't just get rid of them completely, I get it. But Battlefield 5 might very well have the most generic and boring loading screens of all the Battlefield games in the past 10 years. At the moment, Battlefield 5's loading screens don't give any info about the map or the battle you're about to enter whatsoever. With some of the maps, like Panzerstorm for example, you don't even know where or when they are. Could be Belgium, could be France, could be early in the war, could be somewhere in the middle. Why are we even fighting here? Who knows? There's nearly no context at all. Sure, you can probably find all these infos somewhere on the internet, but why isn't it simply in the game? Of course, Hardline has loading screens too, but it also has a clever way of making them as unboring as possible and actually uses them to add to the overall experience. For once, they are not just static images, stuff is happening, there's actually interesting info on the screen, there's music, and there's a voiceover telling you where you're gonna fight and why.
A call to investigate a strange smell in the small town of Jode has resulted in a standoff between
sometimes giving you nice little background info about stuff that happened leading up to the upcoming confrontation.
A gunfight near Blackstone Plaza in Los Angeles has caused workers and residents to flee the area.
It's made to resemble a contemporary news broadcast, which is exactly what I could imagine for Battlefield 5. Make them in the style of contemporary news broadcasts, like the British Pathé newsreels or the German Wochenschau, depending on what side you're playing as. What happened so far? Why are we fighting? What's at stake? Give us some context to the battles we are about to enter. 2009's Battlefield 1943 did something similar on a smaller scale, using radio broadcasts. But even that felt more authentic and immersive than a boring screenshot.
Has against all odds repelled the invading Marine forces from the beaches of Iwo Jima.
This one doesn't need much of an explanation. Instead, let's just take a look at how long it actually takes to leave a game as quickly as possible from the moment the round is over. We start with Battlefield 5. So the round just ended. We can't quit just yet. First we gotta sit through the victory screen. Then we gotta check out the best squad and marvel at their cosmetics. Wow. Then we can finally leave, so we press the button as quickly as possible and we wait. And wait. And wait. Still not there. Some more waiting. Almost there. Any moment now. And finally we're out. This was in no way slowed down or anything. This is actually how long it takes on a PS4 Pro from the moment the round is over until you are back in the menu. Now let's do the same thing in Battlefield Hardline. The round is over and the millisecond the scoreboard comes into view you can press the button to quit and it takes like 10 seconds until you're back in the menu. 10 seconds! 10 seconds. As it is right now, both the Killcam as well as the Killcard, which is supposed to give you some info about the player that just killed you and what weapon they used, are pretty much useless. The zooming, spinning and rotating camera movement is confusing at best and more often than not doesn't even show the player that killed you. The most annoying aspect though, at least in my opinion, is that little forced rotation at the end. You know what I mean. Given the Killcam does show and follow the player who killed you, it'll zoom towards said player, follow them for a bit before zooming out again. But instead of just leaving the camera zoomed out, it quickly flicks and locks into a specific view for a second or two before you can move the camera again. And this little forced flick is so annoying and just feels clunky and unpolished. You can move the camera back once the game hands over the controls again, but why not leave the camera where it was when the Killcam zoomed out? It would make the whole thing much smoother. Another thing is the actual kill card, the overlay which shows the enemy player's weapon and dog tag. In Battlefield Hardline you can very clearly see a player's rank, how much health they got left, what weapon and attachments they were using, and even what body part they hit. In Battlefield 5, however, what little info is there disappears so quickly you barely register what weapon it was before everything gets replaced with the call for help or skip revive thing. Why can't the kill card stay? Does the call for help or skip revive thing really need to be that huge? And also the kill card itself is super bare bones. Why not show the weapon specifications, for example? It can have a maximum of 4, just like attachments in previous titles, and it would be an actual interesting bit of information. Instead we get the player's combat role, as if it had any kind of significance. But then again, the kill card disappears in like 2 seconds, so even if there was some actually useful information, it's gone so fast you wouldn't be able to read it anyway. So I tried to come up with a new concept. Something like this. It's basically a combination of Hardline and BF5. The combat role, which took up a ridiculous amount of space, got reduced to a simple line of text, which is well enough in my opinion, and instead we put more focus on the actual weapon, the distance we got killed at, and the body silhouette from Hardline makes a return, showing where you received the killing blow. Now that we have some more space, we can also show the soldier's emblem again, something we don't see at all anymore. Since dog tags are only one-sided in BF5, showing the emblem could make up for it, hopefully promoting the creation of some more unique and interesting ones. And lastly, the kill card wouldn't disappear anymore to show the call for help or skip revive screen. Instead, it's integrated into the same screen, so you'd have plenty of time to actually read the whole thing while waiting for a revive. Of course, this is just a simple mock-up, and even though I did put quite some thought into it, others might come up with a better idea. The point though is, the current kill card is not very good and could well use a makeover. Even if you absolutely cannot stand Battlefield Hardline for whatever reason, there's one thing which pretty much every Battlefield player can agree on was handled much better in Hardline than it is in Battlefield 5. And that's the gun attachment and customization system. When the game was released, the gun customization was pretty similar to Battlefield 4, which in itself would already be an improvement over Battlefield 5. Further down the road though, Visceral updated the game and introduced the gun bench, and that's where it's at. With the gun bench you can customize both your player character as well as your weapons in such a detail that was never seen in a Battlefield game before and, sadly, never since. You can do the usual stuff of putting attachments and camos on your gun, but you can also edit those camos, change the colors to your liking, make your gun more shiny or more dull, more pristine or more used. You can even edit the reticle on your scope in style, color, size and even position. Although I gotta admit I don't see the appeal of that one, but the option is there. And regarding the player customization, if you don't feel like seeing enemies running around in bright pink uniforms and dinosaur masks, you can actually switch that off, client side, and you'll only see the standard player models. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who wished for that option in BF5. Battlefield Hardline introduced a small but very helpful feature of multiple loadouts per class. What that means is you could save up to 5 completely different loadouts with different guns, sidearms, attachments, scope, camos, gadgets and so on, and then quickly switch between them before spawning without having to change all those things by hand. For example, you could have a loadout for close range, for long range, for anti-vehicle, or maybe a dedicated night maps loadout with flare scopes and night vision goggles and so on. You might think that's not really that impressive, but believe me, once you got used to it, you won't want to miss it again. The next title in the franchise, Battlefield 1, kept that feature, even though it reduced the maximum loadouts per class to 3. But Battlefield 5, for whatever reason, removed it completely. There is a somewhat cumbersome workaround to this by abusing the combat roles as a loadout, but if you just want to have different loadouts for different maps or situations without also changing your character's combat role traits, you're unfortunately out of luck. This one is pretty straightforward. In Battlefield Hardline you can customize your vehicles in-game, just like you can customize your player character. Take all the time in the world, change every aspect of your vehicle without the need to wait for the vehicle type to become available first. Select the actual vehicle you want to upgrade, then quickly change what you want to change, all while hoping that no one's gonna spawn in that vehicle before you finished. And I think it's obvious why it's better the way it is in Hardline. Also, you can always see when a certain vehicle becomes available for spawning. Neat. I packed these 3 together because they're rather small individually, but make up one area of the overall Battlefield experience I'd like to address, and boy, I actually don't know how to talk about this without making Battlefield 5 look like a complete fool, so sorry in advance. But the thing is, the ribbons, medals and assignments are just a complete joke in Battlefield 5. Let's start with the ribbons. In Battlefield Hardline, ribbons are thematically known as coins and are awarded for meeting specific requirements during a round, like destroying a number of vehicles, getting a certain amount of kills with a sidearm and so on. You probably know how it works from other games in the series. They can be obtained multiple times per round and also add to your experience points at the end. Now, Battlefield 5 came with ribbons too, and they were supposed to work pretty much the same way as they always did. The feature still needed some work as it didn't always display the correct image or criteria when awarded. The team was allegedly working on resolving the issue, but instead, the whole feature got quietly removed with the 5.0 update. Just gone. They didn't even bother to mention it in the patch notes, probably hoping no one would notice. Then there's the medals. In Battlefield Hardline, medals are thematically known as bounties and are awarded after getting a ribbon, here called coin, a certain number of times, 50 to be precise. Each medal or bounty can be obtained as many times as you want, each time giving you a nice little cash bonus. In Battlefield 5 we do have medals as well, but they are nothing like they used to be. They actually work more like assignments, in that each medal has a certain set of tasks you need to perform to unlock it. And once you unlocked it, well, that's it. You unlocked it. There's no cash reward, no XP bonus, nothing. They're just there to look at, making the whole medal system kinda pointless. And lastly, we got the assignments. In Battlefield Hardline, like most Battlefield games, there are certain in-game tasks to perform called assignments, which reward the player with character skins, dog tags, weapons and so on. Some of them require you to finish other assignments first before you can progress, and there's a whole lot of them in Hardline. All neatly arranged by category in the assignments menu, showing your progress, your rewards, what you still gotta do, and the best thing is, they are all tracked all the time whenever you're playing. It's kinda weird, I have to point that out as something noteworthy. But as you might know, in Battlefield 5 we have one huge ass list, no categories whatsoever, and you have to manually select the 4 assignments you wanna track during gameplay. And if you happen to finish one of those assignments, it doesn't automatically start tracking the next in line or something crazy. No way, Jose! You have to forfeit around, leave the current server, go back to the main menu, back to the assignments menu, scroll all the way down that huge ass list to find the next assignment you wanna track, activate it, go back to the main menu, back to the server browser, find the server again you just left, or just join a new one because you most probably won't find it anyway. Wait for the match to load, join the game, hope the round hasn't already ended, and finally you can start making progress on your stupid assignment. Just why? Yeah, I know they gave us the explanation about performance issues at some point or another which prevented them from tracking more than those 4 assignments per player. But honestly, why did they change the thing in the first place? Especially when it creates issues like this, which are just super annoying for the player. Why couldn't they just keep it the way it was in Hardline? And there you have it. 10 things I personally think Battlefield Hardline did better than Battlefield 5. Don't get me wrong though, I'm not hating on Battlefield 5. I like Battlefield 5 quite a lot and play it almost daily. But the way it's been treated by DICE or EA or whoever ultimately is responsible for its current state is just a shame. I was still hopeful for BF5 when I started working on this video almost 4 months ago. I thought, you know, there's always room for improvement, so I'm gonna try to point out a few things that I personally think have been done better in the past, specifically in Battlefield Hardline, that BF5 maybe could benefit or learn from. Little did I know they would just abandon it altogether. But maybe this is the perfect wake-up call for you all to go back to the streets, back on the beat, drop the fuss and tag some walls. Thanks for watching and a big shout out to the BLRN crew. You know who you are. Take care and see you all next time. Oh, and since you're here, why not check out one of my other videos, like this one here or that one? You might even consider subscribing if that's your thing. I mean, I would. Probably. Anyway, peace out.